Welcome viewers, this is Media Track, the media program where we look at the big news stories of the past week, and this is episode 31. Together with me I have Ashley Rosario, who is a senior journalist and he is a news editor with the Goan. So this week we will look at the biggest story that has come out, and it is a Supreme Court order. It is an order that impacts all the political parties, and the Supreme Court has said that political parties have to justify fielding tainted candidates. The order was passed on Thursday by the Supreme Court bench of Justice R.F. Nariman and S. Ravindran. Now, my whole point of bringing this to the notice of the viewer is because there are a lot of candidates in Goa who are facing criminal charges. So let me ask my friend Ashley, how do you think, Ashley, this would impact the Goa political scene? Because as you know, I can think of at least 3 MLAs who are in the House currently. That is, you have Babush Montserrat, you have Kavlekar, and you have Movin Godin, who have criminal cases against them. And I believe, as we were discussing earlier, you also pointed that Churchill Alamau was another candidate. So how do you think this would impact the Goa political scene?
I think the impact would not be that major, for the simple reason that these politicians with criminal backgrounds brazen it out in the political field. Okay, number one, it is not a prohibition that people who are tainted cannot contest. So basically, it is incumbent upon the political parties now with this judgment that when they select people as candidates who have criminal cases pending against them, then they have to publicize it. Number one, and they have to with that publication, they have to justify why they selected this particular candidate.
Yes, that is really the sort of crucial thing. And the Election Commission has been trying in the past to bring this law in this, but it was never mandatory. Now the Supreme Court has made it shall be mandatory for political parties at the center and state level to upload on their website detailed information regarding individuals with pending criminal cases. So that is the thing, pending criminal cases. So it's not only people who have been convicted.
Yeah. For people who have been convicted, I think this whole debate and this whole legal proceedings to ban candidates with criminal backgrounds from entering the electoral fray has been raging for more than 2 decades. If you remember, I think the first major case in India was that of Bal Thackeray, when after the demolition of the Babri Masjid and the whole riots in Mumbai and Maharashtra, the next election that came up, Bal Thackeray did rake up the communal issue in the electioneering, and he was booked in a case. And when that case went through the legal adjudication, he was eventually disenfranchised.
Okay, so you're saying that he couldn't vote, is it?
Not just vote, his name didn't exist.
Okay, but
his name was struck down from the electoral rolls.
Okay, but Bal Thackeray never contested an election.
No, he never contested. But what that action of the Supreme Court did was disallowed him from being even a voter for 6 years.
Yeah. Well, that was really...
That was the first major case that reached logical conclusion. Otherwise, it was just a debate.
Okay.
But following that case, it was the Election Commission, I think it was Session at that point of time, or maybe some successor of his, I think it was Lindo, who took this to the Supreme Court with a rider saying that the Supreme Court should come up with some law or some order or some directive by which criminal elements are weeded out of the electoral system.
Yeah, but so many years since then, Ashley, we haven't seen any real, sort of impact of these decisions on the political process in the country. Now, together with this, there is this news that the MLAs have been, the Goa MLAs, that is all those, there are, I think, 13 of them, 10 of course defected in one big lot, and 3 before that.
Yeah.
So they've got 4 weeks to file a reply on the Congress's disqualification petition before the Speaker. Now, to just bring you up to date to this thing, it was again an order of the Supreme Court that said a decision has to be taken by the Speaker, and the outer limit being 3 months. So the Speaker obviously has no choice whether he agrees with the disqualification, the arguments made in the Congress plea or not. He still has to give an order.
Devika, I disagree with that. It's not an order of the Supreme Court which directs that.
Okay.
It's a recommendatory order. What the Supreme Court did with that order of saying that a decision should be made within 3 months was a recommendation they made to the Parliament.
Yeah.
To say that you enact a law which says this.
Okay.
Okay, so that Supreme Court order, as of today, does not make it mandatory on speakers and on presiding officers to pass a judgment on disqualification petitions within 3 months.
Yeah.
It's a recommendatory thing from the Supreme
Well,
Court.
I don't.
But if you go to see on morality grounds and that, it does put pressure on the speakers to take faster decisions because of the Supreme Court order.
But the argument before the Speaker put up by the counsel for the Congress party says that the Supreme Court in a recent judgment has laid down the law that disqualification petitions must be decided within 3 months of the date of filing, and requested the Speaker to take into consideration this 3-month deadline.
Yeah, that's the submission of the Congress side.
Yes, that's true.
the submission of the Congress. But the Supreme Court has not laid down the law. The Supreme Court has asked Parliament to lay it down.
Okay. So, that is the thing. Now, let's move on to another story, and that is, of course, the very sad passing away of the fashion icon Wendell Rodricks, and how it was covered in the news by all the papers. So on Thursday was Rodricks' funeral held in Kolwale, the village where he came to live in. He moved there in 1993, and the reason he moved there, he said, was because that was the village where his father was born, and they moved out from there to Mumbai. Now, was he from living in Mahim in Mumbai, if I recall? Or
yeah, he was living in Mahim,
Yeah, so Wendell moved in 1993, and I think he was around, he was 33 years old, and by then he had already made a name for himself in the fashion world. So there was a lot of, if you look at the headlines, there were big splash of Wendell. So how do you view his contribution actually to Goa, and what he meant to Goa?
I think he's very coming back to Goa.
Yeah.
And settling down in Goa, making Goa his home.
Yeah.
At age 33. Itself is a great contribution. It also inspired a lot of others, perhaps, to do the same and contribute to Goa's society, to Goa's social fabric. I have been close to Wendell for like last 10-12 years. One very striking quality in Wendell was he made friends fast.
Yeah.
And whenever these friends of his were upset with the way things are happening in Goa, and the thought that they should leave Goa and make life or live life elsewhere because things are not very satisfactory in Goa, Wendell went out of his way to convince such friends against taking that step of this brain drain. He was very committed to convince good people in Goa not to contribute further to the brain drain that has been happening in Goa for the last several decades.
Yeah.
That's one striking quality in Wendell that I personally witnessed. Another very important quality that Wendell had and did contribute to Goa a lot was to call out stuff that was happening around, which was destroying Goa as and its character.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's difficult to find people who are famous,
Yeah.
who are rich,
Yeah.
and who are well placed in Goan society doing that.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
He sort of, in fact, he put himself out when, if you recall, during the Goa Bachao
Bachao
Abhiyan
Abhiyan,
movement,
yeah.
he was there supporting that,
Yes.
and then he was openly critical of the iron ore mining, the illegal mining,
Yeah.
and he did face some heat from that. If I recall, he
He fell out.
alienated a lot of his very powerful friends
Yes.
in the mining industry.
Yes.
And I recall he was quite upset also. But he said, Goa is far more important to me than keeping these
Yeah.
friends in high places. Now, he wasn't known only in Goa. He was also quite well known, I think, in the higher echelons of the fashion industry. He was a first. One is his whole couture stuff was shorn of all that very heavy embroidered sort of high fashion that was in fashion in those days in India, and he brought in this whole minimalist fashion design into the industry, for which he's well remembered. If you recall yesterday, at the funeral on Thursday, there were a lot of people and celebs and locals who filled the parish church. And of course, some reports said that he launched very high-profile actors like Deepika Padukone and Anushka Sharma. So, apart from that, Ashley, I think Wendell was also very, very rooted to the village, and he contributed quite a bit, I think, to Kolwal. In what way did he do that?
Basically, he chose Kolwal because it was his father's village.
Yeah.
I remember the first significant interaction between me and Wendell was way back in 2000-2001, when Wendell collaborated with the village community to set up a library in the local school.
Okay.
A well-equipped library in that local school, and I had gone for that launch of that library, where Salman Khan's brother, Arbaz Khan, was the chief guest, along with his ex-wife. And it was a big show, and I was there, and I kind of interacted with Wendell there, and he said, this is a small step I've taken to contribute to my village. And I think then Nilkant Halankar, who's the current MLA, was the Sarpanch of Kolwale, and it was a collaboration between Nilkant and Wendell that brought this library, a well-equipped library for the local school. So that was the first indication that I got, that Wendell was this guy who was out to contribute to society, out to contribute to, and in very real terms, not just making statements, which normally most of our actors in Goa are known to be doing. That is one. Second is, even in the fashion world, I think Wendell has inspired a whole load of Goan fashion designers.
That's true.
Okay.
So the other point I wanted to make, Ashley, is his very last sort of activity on social media was his attempt to save those trees. If you recall,
at Kolwale.
And he had this sort of very strong message to the Chief Minister, saying that he had promised that the trees wouldn't be knocked down, but they just went ahead and knocked them down, and he said that, how can we trust you again? So that was
what happened was this whole 8-laning and 6-laning of the highways crisscrossing Goa,
which are literally destroying the villages,
the very character of Goa, especially rural Goa. I think he saw this happening very early and raised the banner of revolt when they were attempting to bulldoze those trees which are right in the middle of those mango trees, centuries old mango trees which are right in the middle of that highway. as you approach Kolwale. So he gathered villagers, like-minded villagers, and they actually did action on the ground there. And what happened 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, where they actually bulldozed and cut down those trees, would have happened 8 months ago if Wendell had not raised the banner of revolt.
Like everything else, in the end, it didn't
succeed.
yield any result.
Didn't succeed.
So actually, the other story I wanted to bring up is the arrest. 38 people were arrested for trespassing and damaging a casino in Baga. Now, they talked about 38 of them being arrested, and I just cannot figure out the story. How did so many people get into this casino, and didn't they have any sort of bouncer, security, etc.?
The story behind the story is not reported anywhere.
I see, okay.
But it appears to be some
enmity
management control of that casino, some dispute over that, because apparently the company or the people involved in running the Pride casinos and the Majestic Hotel have recently taken over management of this hotel and the casino. So in between the lines, you can understand that it is some control kind of a dispute over that hotel and casino.
There was another story I wanted to ask you, because you are so much on the ground. What is the implication of this imposition of Section 144 by the government, and the Congress is calling it mischievous? Now, the government has imposed it for 2 months in North Goa, and it says, the government says that it is a terror threat to the western coast, is perceived, and so they need to impose Section 144, which in fact the Supreme Court had earlier said should not be used so liberally and so, without any real reason. So what is the implication of it, and why has the government imposed this?
I think the government has imposed it basically to give it a leeway to crack down.
To crack down on what? Is it the anti-CAA protesters? Is it what exactly is the government?
Quite obvious it is because of these, frequently held anti-CAA, NRC, NPR agitations, because that is the current flavor, right? Now, as you are aware, the IPC and the CRPC have archaic provisions like this, which give governments despotic powers.
Exactly.
So despotic powers, and they exist in the law books. They exist. So the governments are using them. This whole story of intelligence inputs and all this, I don't see how imposition of Section 144 can prevent a terror attack.
Exactly.
That
is what
beats all
how
logic.
Does Section 144 really prevent a terror attack? But look at the Chief Minister's argument. He was asked by journalists, and he said that imposing Section 144 does not mean a total ban on any government or private activity. Now, what has this got to do with a terror attack?
No, I'll tell you why he made that statement. He made that statement because Carnival and Holi are coming up. So if Section 144
is imposed,
is strictly implemented,
exactly. So that means you cannot.
You cannot hold Carnival. You can't hold Holi.
Absolutely.
So this explanation of his is I think aimed at that Carnival and Holi. But at the same time, the provision exists. The provision has been invoked by this notification from the district magistrate. So they will pick and choose. They'll do cherry picking. They will implement Section 144 when they want, and not implement it when they don't want.
So there was another story I wanted to come to. Ashley, the really big story at the national level is the AAP's win in Delhi, and of course we had the reaction from the BJP. You had the reaction from the Home Minister. Who said that it was not in fact he did admit to some extent that maybe the negative campaign and calling out to shoot people, etc., might have had some impact on the fortunes of the BJP. But talking about the AAP win, 62 seats to the BJP's 8 and the Congress's 0. Talking about the AAP win, many people believe that AAP may actually now be able to make some kind of impact in Goa in its sort of electoral prospects. So what is your view of this?
I think that will happen only if AAP does not compromise on its political philosophy of changing politics to actual groundwork.
Okay.
To just concentrate on actual groundwork and just despise this whole, religion caste mix that many political parties use to win elections.
Yeah.
If you remember, they did put in a great effort to fight the 2017 elections.
Yes.
And they kind of lost their way.
Yes.
I mean, I was part of the AAP at that point
Yes,
of time.
that's one reason I wanted to ask you. Now, was that, was your campaign when you were in the AAP, and you were very much involved with it, part of the media cell, etc. I recall calling you and asking you for a little background information, etc. But was it the AAP's decision to bring workers from Delhi to campaign here? Was it AAP's selection of candidates, or was it AAP's failure to have a really sort of convincing face for the whole AAP campaign in Goa that affected?
That's
AAP?
the problem. The AAP succumbed to that. The AAP succumbed to that formula of having a personality
driven
driven campaign.
Okay.
If they had not succumbed to that, I think it would be a little more different. I'm not saying they might have won the election,
No,
but
so you're, what you're suggesting
they
is
should
that
stick to their own agenda.
That the person they selected to be the AAP face was wrong, or you're saying?
No. The fact that they succumbed to the need to have a personality to drive its campaign in Goa.
Yeah, but then if you look at the analysis of the AAP elections and their win, one of the main reasons AAP is supposed to have won is because they had such a strong chief ministerial face to lead the AAP. So
it was not just a chief ministerial face. It was a chief ministerial face that performed for 5 years.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what I'm saying
that was
is
not possible. That is not possible in Goa because AAP did not have an existence in Goa before 2017.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay. So unless you had a former chief minister who had performed, being the leader of AAP, leading AAP into an election, then it was acceptable. But my point is they succumbed to a lot of local these subjective issues, like for example, don't take a stand on Mopa Airport.
Okay.
Don't take a stand on medium of instruction.
Yeah.
So a lot of these, narratives that have been playing around in the Goan media don't really touch the last voter.
Yes, but then if you see, AAP didn't take a stand on anti-CAA, on the CAA, AAP didn't go to Shaheen Bagh, AAP didn't go to JNU, AAP didn't go to Jamia Millia. They stayed away from all those very contentious issues, and yet they won.
I'll just add a little bit to this. It is not that AAP stayed away. AAP's leaders stayed away.
Yes.
Basically because they didn't want the narrative to shift to
to
that subject. To that subject, which is the BJP's threat.
Yes.
Okay, number one. A lot of volunteers, a lot of AAP people, the lower rung people were in Shaheen Bagh, were everywhere. But, the AAP, Arvind Kejriwal and the party leadership did take a strong stand that they will fight this election on the basis of the 5 years work they have done. And based on that, the bar they have raised for themselves for the next 5 years, and they would only concentrate on that. That is exactly why
I agree with you to some extent on that, but I also have a little bit of a wider perspective on this, and I think one of the issues that got up in was that the Congress lacked a really strong sort of chief ministerial face. Secondly, is the whole NRC CA issue and the BJP's very toxic campaign which went against. So, you know, a lot of the voters who saw that AAP was the front runner, and especially Congress voters obviously would rather have voted for AAP rather than to allow to sort of split the vote and allow the BJP to
get an
to
advantage.
get it.
Yeah.
I also saw these you know, a lot of the sort of discussions and analysis, and the one I found interesting was Ashutosh, who was formerly quite high up in the AAP, and he said that he does not see this election taking up beyond Delhi, and he specifically mentioned Goa and Orissa and Punjab. He said because AAP lacked a rural connect in these places. So how would you look at that sort of angle of it?
See, I think they are looking at a formula
Yeah.
which will catapult them into a major national party.
Yeah.
Not in 2024.
Yes.
But in 2029.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, in the next 8-9 years, what Arvind Kejriwal will be looking forward to do is maybe retire as CM midway this term.
Okay.
And move to building the party at a national level.
Okay.
Like hand over the reins to somebody like Manish Sisodia in Delhi.
Okay.
And move around.
Okay.
Because he is an attractive politician, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, a lot of people don't like him for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
But then he is an iconic politician in India today.
Yeah.
So I think he will move to doing that. And he would look at a formula where he has mini Kejriwals in each of the regions.
Okay.
In each of the regions.
Yes,
that
yes.
would inspire, you know, the local socio-political electorate. So I think that is the formula they're looking at. I think I'm not an insider anymore.
Okay.
Okay. So
on that very sort of interesting political note, I think we will wind up now. We've run out of time, and we are in for very interesting political sort of many months now. We are at a crucial stage in the country. So thank you for watching, viewers, and hope to see you again next week.